Now, here's a guy I'm also not terribly excited about. And I don't know if we had President Obama on the Hill telling Democrats, do not help them. Not just in destroying Obamacare, but do not help them replace it. Make them do it on their own. Meanwhile, Trump is saying, and this is what I said they were going to be doing, when they destroy the Affordable Care Act, they're going to make it seem like this was an inevitability, that Obamacare was teetering. And this, I imagine, is what you're going to hear. On Wednesday, Donald Trump told Republicans in a series of tweets responding to President Obama he said, Republicans must be careful that the Democrats own the failed Obamacare disaster. Dems are to blame for the mess. It will fall of its own weight. Be careful, which is exactly what I have been saying.
It's also a great tactic, right? For it hasn't fallen yet, but it will. So we're not going to do anything that will be unpopular. Theoretically, right? I mean, that could serve that function. It's going to collapse, so don't rush it.
Right. But they're hoping that it will. I don't know. It's going to be, I don't know what they're going to do. But the important thing is that Democrats stay strong. I don't have a lot of faith in Chuck Schumer's machinations. This is aside from Chuck Schumer in terms of the way he votes, okay? Let's keep two things separate here. Chuck Schumer, the way he votes, he's particularly bad on things like Israel and particularly bad on things like banking and some tax issues, carried interest because of his relationship with Wall Street. Put that aside. I'm more concerned about his role as the Senate Majority Leader. And there's two elements to this. One is, what disposition are Democrats going to take towards Trump and the Republicans? And two, how adept is he at both, I guess, from a parliamentary procedure, a legislative procedure, and in terms of wrangling the Democrats? How adept is he at that? I don't know if we know the second. And I'm not even sure that we know the first. But this is a good sign, at the very least. Chuck Schumer on Rachel Maddow's show basically saying, we're just, what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Let me ask you about a very hard line edge on that question, which is the Supreme Court. The Republicans took this unprecedented step. They didn't let President Obama make a Supreme Court appointment for almost a year now.
Very moderate, mainstream nominee.
Yeah. A nominee who a lot of progressives would have been very disappointed in, actually, even though he's very widely respected. But that was an incredibly radical thing that the Republicans did. Senator Jeff Merkley of Oregon says they stole a Supreme Court seat.
Fair statement.
Didn't they just get away with it? I mean, are there no consequences for it?
Well, the consequences are going to be down the road. The consequences are going to be down the road. We are not going to settle on a Supreme Court nominee. If they don't appoint someone who's really good, we're going to oppose them tooth and nail. Now then, they won't have 60 votes to put in and out of the mainstream nominee, and then they'll have to make a choice, change the rules. It's going to be very hard for them to change the rules because there are a handful of Republicans who believe in the institution of the Senate and don't change the rules. But we are not going to make it easy for them to pick a Supreme Court justice.
Is there an argument to be made, though, if it is a fair statement that was basically a stolen seat, so it isn't theirs to fill, then in that case, no nominee would be legitimate because that seat should have been filled by President Obama.
It's hard for me to imagine a nominee that Donald Trump would choose that would get Republican support that we could support. So you're right.
And so you would do your best to hold the seat open?
Absolutely.
That's a pretty strong statement.
Yep.
And Schumer has come out and said he regrets that they got rid of the filibuster when it came to confirming cabinet officials. Not so much the other judicial positions, but the cabinet officials. And when I first read that, I was like, I thought that was cowardly. But in retrospect, what he might be doing is basically signaling to whoever those Republicans are who would have to vote to change the rules, right? They need 51 to change the rules, including, or I should say 50 plus Mike Pence. Maybe he's thinking three of those Republicans will not vote to get rid of the filibuster for the Supreme Court. In which case, it's going to be interesting to see if the Democrats would keep this open forever. I have a feeling they're going to change the rules. But at the very least, he's making them do it, right? I mean, if they're going to get their pick anyways, why wouldn't you do it?
Those are like the two things they need to do, right? They need to institutionally give them a hard time at every turn, expose how obscene their picks are for everything. And then maybe they just need to have like three things that they, whether it's like expand Social Security, single payer, and maybe, maybe like some type of new package on ethics reform, because that probably will become a new good thing to fight on. That every person, it's like I always say those, the red lines that Gordon Brown used to have in the UK, that even when Tony Blair moved pretty far to the right, he always made sure NHS and there were a couple other spending requirements that were the red lines,
right,
and that helped them win because it was just like this clear dividing line, like more hospitals or not.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it'll be interesting because I think at the very least, why not force them to get rid of the filibuster? I mean, it's like on Survivor, right? Force them to play the idol.
I've never seen Survivor.
Well, it's the same dynamic.
Same dynamic. I take your word for it. I believe you.
Hey, it's Sam Seder. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so right over here. Subscribe.